Hi, I'm Leadership Development Coach Kathy Archer. Today I'm continuing on my 3-part series about more productivity at work. The first session, if you missed it, was on planning, weekly planning. And then last week I talked to you about how to prioritize those to-do things that you've come up with after your weekly planning. Today I'm going to give you 3 productivity hacks to help you get done those priority things each day and each week that you've identified. Productivity hack number 1. Batch things. Make sure that you are doing things that are similar in the same chunk of time. If you have a bunch of phone calls that you need to make on your to-do list, set aside an hour or two to get through those phone calls and return those messages. Don't try and do one here and one there and one here. Here's the thing that happens for us. When we're doing projects, when we're doing things, part of our mind stays with that project or that task or that phone call or that conversation, even when we've moved on to the next one. And so there's this sort of residual effect where our mind is still kind of half back in that conversation. We're still kind of thinking about the thing that we needed to do when we move into the next one. And so when you're trying to switch from, going through your budget to working on somebody's performance appraisal to returning some emails to doing a phone call, and you're trying to do all of that in an hour, it's extremely difficult to stay focused on the task and to keep your mind bouncing from one thing to the next, because that's literally what it's doing. It's bouncing, and you're having to try and pull your mind back into control and get on to the thing you're doing. So batch the things that you're doing. And do this not only sort of in chunks of time during your day, but chunks of time in your week or in your month. If you have a bunch of performance appraisals that are due within 2 or 3 weeks span, try and do them all sort of in that same period so that your mind is in performance appraisal mode and you're working on that. If you've got a bunch of policies to redo and rewrite or work through or to teach, schedule those all into the same 2 or 3 day period where you can kind of get into policy mode. If it's time to do annual stats or do budgets where you've got to get into spreadsheets and start playing around with math and doing that kind of totally different headspace, chunk those all into the same time. Wherever you can, put them exactly sort of back to back or in the same 2 or 3 hour period. That's going to help you out tremendously, rather than trying to do a little bit here and it takes you the first 10 minutes to get back into the headspace, a little bit over here and another 10 minutes to get back into the headspace. So batch the things that you're working on. That's the first productivity hack. The second productivity hack is be more aware of when you're most productive. Pay attention to when you get your best work done. For me, I'm a morning person. I know that when the first thing I do when I sit down at my desk is probably my most effective time. If I slide email into there, I am wasting that valuable time in my schedule. And so what I need to do is make sure that that first thing I do is the stuff that really needs to get done. For me, that's often writing. For you, it might also be writing. Maybe you're working on performance appraisals or pulling together your annual stats. For many of us, it goes back to those reading, writing, and arithmetic kind of stuff. If you've got writing to do, math work to do, or some reports that you need to read, that's the time often that you want to be doing that in your most productive time. Figure out when that is. Is it early in the morning? Is it later in the day? When do you have the most energy? Find your most productive point of time and put your most important work into that time, and you'll find you're way more productive. The third productivity hack, I'm sure you've heard me preach about a zillion times and everybody else out there. Eliminate your interruptions. And this is absolutely critical. It is one of the things that most people complain about in their organizations. And you know what most people complain about? It's interruptions from other people. Other people knocking on their door, phoning, ringing, sending text messages, all of those things that kind of come into our space. And you need to be the guardian of your time. You need to be the gatekeeper that allows people in or out. And what you have to do is make sure that you're eliminating the distractions. So when you set aside a chunk of time that you want to be really productive on, an hour where you're going to sit down and work on this project, shut your phone off. Put it on the other side of the room. Put do not disturb on. Close your computer or all of the windows except the one you're working on. Get rid of all of those things that are going to distract you. Shut your door. Next thing you need to do is communicate that to other people. I'm taking this hour, no interruptions allowed. Do not phone me, do not text me, and if you do, I'm not responding. The third thing, though, is probably the most difficult. It's reinforcing those boundaries that you've set. It's just like when you tell a kid no and they're like, please, 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 please. And you're like, oh, okay, just this once. The minute you allow somebody to interrupt your time, they'll do it again and again. And so will the next person. You have to be diligent about not answering texts or the phone. You have to be really, really serious when somebody knocks on your door and says, can I just steal you for a minute? No, actually you can't. I'll be available in about 45 minutes when I'm finished this project. But right now, I need you to just let me finish this. It's you that has to set those boundaries. And this is the most difficult part. You have to be the one that says, I'm not going to look at email during this time. I'm not going to respond to the phone at this time. I'm going to tell people no when they try and take my time away. Make sure that you're eliminating those distractions. Get rid of all of those things so that you can be more focused on what you're doing. So the 3 productivity hacks are to batch things. Make sure that your brain is working on the same types of things at the same time. The second productivity hack is make sure that you're clear on the time that you're most productive and slide your most important work into that most productive time. And then eliminate distractions, and you need to be the one to eliminate those. So make sure that you're getting those 3 productivity hacks done to help you get done the important work that you want to get done during your day. I know that as leaders, you spend most of your time chasing fires and solving everyone else's problems while never getting to those things that you really want to do. I give leaders the inner and outer tools needed to turn that around so you can move from survival mode to thriving in both leadership and in life. Make sure that you follow these weekly videos so that you get more of those inner and outer tools, and follow me on all my social media channels because I share a ton more as well.